Hey everyone, this is Ashley Ellenboss with Skyhouse Herb School and Apothecary, and today I'm going to be talking about sobriety and discipline. And I might talk about some herbs too, but really this is exploration of some themes that I've been really thinking about. And I wanted to share some personal stories and personal experiences, hopefully as a way to maybe address things that are out there, maybe that you're dealing with or that a loved one is. So in my personal history, I had a lot of heavy drug use. Starting in my mid-teens, I started exploring using LSD, marijuana, alcohol, and slowly that kind of evolved into me becoming a part of a culture within my school and within, my community that was very much based on getting high. And as I think back on who I was in that time in my life, I really see that I was doing the best I could. I had a lot of feelings. I didn't have a lot of good coping skills and strategies. And I had found something that was really important to me, and that was community. And, that community was centered around music and drugs. And, to me, it filled a space that I really needed filling at that time. So let's talk a little bit about my perspective now, and I want to fill in some of the gaps of what happened between then and now. So let's go to now. Let's go to last night. I was trying to fall asleep and my heart was racing. My mind was like really charged. I could feel kind of a buzzing in my body. And I really could feel I could feel something familiar. And what I could feel that was familiar was the feeling of having something like speed in my system, which I do have because when I was on vacation, I had an infected bug bite, which turned into a staph infection. I was prescribed antibiotics because I didn't have any herbs. I had to go to a clinic on an island. So I was prescribed antibiotics. I had an allergic reaction to the antibiotics. So then I started taking prednisone because my body was covered in hives and I couldn't get it under control. So right now I'm on a corticosteroid. You could also think of it as a steroid. I'm basically on steroids right now. No, I don't feel buff and anything like that. But I do notice that my consciousness is very, very altered. And I've been sober now. I haven't had any substances for 2 years. I had my last drink of alcohol. I think it was on, I want to say maybe March 2nd, March 1st or 2nd, 2 years ago. And so my body has been very free of substances. And so as I was laying in bed last night, it was so interesting because I could feel this very familiar sensation of having something in my body that wasn't me, and seeing that there was a difference between, okay, here's my body experiencing a substance, and then here's me observing my body having an experience with a substance. And it started triggering all of these memories from my past of when I would have, when I'd be trying to fall asleep on different types of substances, and this sort of same dissociative feeling. And I started really recognizing how far I've come, but also how challenging it is to be sober. Because for so much of my life, I've turned to substances to help me deal with things like depression and self-esteem issues and indecision, difficulty trusting myself, knowing what to do, how to make decisions. So I would take a substance or reach for a substance to push me out of that uncomfortable state and help me to either impulsively jump to a decision or to avoid it altogether. I used a lot of substances also throughout my 20s, in college. Even when I started practicing yoga, I started really diving into the path of yoga when I was 18, and became a yoga teacher at the age of 23. And even at that time, I stopped doing most substances, but I would still drink alcohol and maybe do a few things, here and there. And I never really saw it as a problem. I never saw alcohol as a problem. Everyone drinks, a lot of people in the yoga world drink. And what I started noticing, though, since I've stopped drinking, is that I would often think of, this part of me which needs to be controlled. And this is something, a learned behavior from childhood, which is that if I want to be safe, I have to control my environment. I have to control everything. And when I want to let loose and let go, I can just drink some alcohol, and then I can release my inhibitions, and I can be the fun version of me. I can be the more spontaneous version of me. But is that really healthy? Is that, and that's what I started really questioning, is that part of me, that free, spontaneous part of me, is something that I want to experience in my day-to-day moments. I want to experience that as a mother. I want to experience that as a wife with my friends, and not just have it be a part of me that only gets unlocked if I'm out, or if I'm in a situation, pardon me, I just bumped my mic. If I'm in a situation where there's substances, and then my inhibitions can be released. So I don't know if that's something maybe you've thought of, or maybe are thinking of now. But when you take on a spiritual path, and I would say this is true for most religious paths as well, is that there's a real emphasis on detaching yourself from substances that alter your mind, and trying to stay in a state of very clean living and clean consciousness. And the reason for that is because then you can start to see these patterns and make decisions that aren't being influenced by an external force, that you start to be able to navigate this from an internal state, and with the help of spiritual guides and principles. And so for me, 2 years ago is when I really started taking my path on the practice of bhakti yoga more seriously, and doing regular japa, or a mantra recitation. And it started off with reciting the prayer of St. Francis. I did that for a year every day, and I would do it once or maybe twice a day. And then it slowly started to build. So this idea of discipline is so important, I think, on the path of sobriety. And for those of you who've ever done AA, or I'm currently a member of Al-Anon, is that when you've either grown up in an environment where there's addiction, or you yourself struggle with addiction, that you have to have some framework to create discipline to help you overcome that instinctual desire to reach for a substance, to escape, to get away from that uncomfortable feeling. And so whatever it is that you find, and for me, again, this particular type of yoga really helped me. I mean, I would say when I found yoga when I was 18, that really started me on this path. Slowly my desire to alter my consciousness, or to be around those type of druggy environments, just that taste started to dissipate and disappear. And I became more attracted to things that had a more of a spiritual energy to them, going to yoga festivals where it was sober places with music and, conversations about spiritual texts. I just started very naturally becoming more attracted to those things. But it was a long process. I mean, what can I say? 20, 30, it took, I would say 15, 20 years for me to say, okay, I think I can stop using now. And it's not easy. It's not easy, because when I go on vacation, there's this part of me that's like, I just want to have a few beers and kick back and relax. And so this most recent vacation, I was like, I'm just going to jump in the pool and do a cannonball, because I haven't done that since I was 10. And I've never felt that, I've always been worried about that. I've always been worried, self-conscious, all of these things. I can only do these things if I'm really relaxed. But the truth is that why can't I just be relaxed enough to have fun now and not wait for some other condition? You know, can I create an internal condition of funness that can be with me in all of my affairs? And so that is what I wanted to speak about today. And I hope this conversation is helpful. I am excited to finish this prednisone course because my I miss the me without this substance in my body. And I don't think I would have said that a few years ago. I don't think I would have noticed it or I would have minded it. I might have been like, this is kind of cool. But I'm really looking forward to coming back to that state of sobriety. And I know too that that sobriety is really a gift. You know, it doesn't come easy to everyone, and not everyone is able to find that for prolonged periods of time. So I just want to give a moment of gratitude for the sober moments that each of us are able to find, because it is truly a gift. It really, really is. And if there's any stories you want to share about your own journey, any practices that you have as a part of your own way of finding joy and spontaneity, or whatever it is that you seek in those alternate spaces, ways that you find to bring that into your regular everyday life, I'd love to hear those as well. So thank you as always for listening, for being a part of my journey, and I'll see you all again soon. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm going to cut my hair off. So this is the last time you'll probably see me with long hair. I'm going to cut it off as a part of this change that I'm going through internally, this experience I want to have of being more free, of not always having a braid or my hair pulled back. I want to feel my hair free and out and liberated, and have that be sort of a physical expression of the internal work I'm doing, of being a little bit more fun and a little more wild and free. So I'll see you next time with new locks. Bye, everyone.